Well, anyway, we're going to go and get started. And I know some of you may not be joining us live, a recorded version later. However you watch, we're so glad to have you. We do this every week, Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. And it's basically a chance for us to connect as a community with all of our friends, with all of our members around the country and around the world. A weekly chance for us to connect with each other. And so normally when we begin our time together, I have a little ritual of lighting a candle, a bit of reflection to begin our time together. We're not going to do that today because it is really hot here in Oklahoma, and I just don't want to add any more heat to the room. So instead, I just want to encourage you to take a moment and to just acknowledge this time special. Take a moment to say that this time is ours for our conversation here. And just take a moment for this time, that it is what it is. So, for any of you who are joining us for the first time, the Objector Church, we are a community that we're committed to the cause of religious humanism, which means that we believe human beings should be at the driver's seat. We believe that human beings have value and worth and dignity. And so that's how we see the world, is from that lens. But we also do so from the sense of our collective energy together. We're not just purely individuals, but rather we're part of something bigger than ourselves. And we're religious because we deal with the questions that religion traditionally deals with, issues of identity, value, meaning, worth. But we're doing so from a non-dogmatic, interfaith perspective, meaning we're looking for wisdom wherever we find it, whatever tradition we find it. And we also are open to those who may not be religious at all, who may not believe in God, who may have different ideas about how things are. That's not a problem because we're all humans. We all have that as our point of connection. So anyway, for today's program, I first want to give a little report on something we just had happen this evening here in Oklahoma City. And then I want to move into our conversation tonight, which is the Objector Church Summer Reading Program. Yes, you think I'm joking. I am not. I'll explain more about that in a moment. And then we'll be talking a little bit also about some fundraising work that we're doing as a community. So stay tuned. First of all, we actually just ended just a little while ago. We had our first official gathering, our monthly gathering of the Oklahoma Objector Church, our little congregation here in Oklahoma. And it was a really joyful time. We had it here at Mappy Roots Books here on the northeast side near Northeast 37th and Kelly. And it was a really good time together. We had a few people here. We shared some snacks, and then we sat and talked. We talked about what brought us to the space. We talked about what we're looking for in a community. And what's really interesting was we all came from very different backgrounds, but yet there are three themes that we talked about. And we kind of, as a group, we kind of wanted to have some kind of take-home message. So we talked about what we find is our sense of commonality. And the first thing, all of us who are here tonight said that we were looking for community. That was a part of what drew us to this group. We also all of us were are motivated by lives of activism. We want to be doing something in the world. In other words, praying is fine, may have its value, maybe, but acting is where it's really the most important thing. And we all of us who are here talk about activism as a guiding principle for us. And then finally, one thing that we all talked about some was our collective awe with the arts and the sciences, and how that for us, these were things that inspire awe, that lift us up. And that many of us have a lot of baggage when it comes to traditional ideas about religion, but in one sense, there was almost a more pure sense of awe when it came to the aesthetics, the arts more generally, and then also the sciences and nature in particular. So anyway, it's a really good time. We're really excited about this gathering. We'll be having it again next month, same time, 6 p.m. Central Time on Sunday night, first Sunday of the month. Next month's program, though, is going to be a very exciting one. We're doing as a panel discussion on issues of end-of-life issues. Our speakers are going to be, oh shoot, I cannot remember her last name, so I won't read the name, but we have one speaker who will be speaking from the Final Exit Network. It's an organization that helps people with the final exit of life, that is death, and dealing with issues related to death. I will be there speaking as from my perspective as an attorney and a minister. My wife, Rebecca Faulkner Branum, she'll be speaking as a physician about what happens when people don't make end-of-life plans and how difficult that can be in a medical context. And finally, we're going to have Matt Denman, who is a phenomenal guitar player, former professor of guitar, but he'll be playing for us some. But also, he's going to be speaking as a financial advisor about issues of end-of-life issues as it relates to financial planning. So we're really excited about this event. It'll be happening next month, Sunday, July 7th, 6 p.m. Central Time here in Oklahoma. And I'm hoping, at least for the panel discussion part, we'll probably have that filmed and recorded so we can share that with a broader audience. So anyway, encourage you, if you're here locally, though, please come out for that. So anyway, though, that's the bit of news, and we'll be doing our monthly gatherings here in Oklahoma every month. We're excited about that. But the next part of the discussion, I want to talk about a phenomenon that when I was a kid was a big deal, and now as a parent has become a big deal, and that is public libraries in the summer, their summer reading program. And what the summer reading programs, and I imagine most major cities have these, but they're programs where that library card holders can log into a website, or in the old days, keep a paper log of their reading. And for kids, you'd keep track of your reading all summer long. At the end of the summer, you'd earn prizes. Well, our library thankfully realizes a lot of adults love the reading program too. And so for the adults, though, I think the prize last year are things like waivers of library fines, one thing you could earn. That's a lot of fun. And I've thought about really the role of libraries in societies and how important libraries are. As a very democratic institution, it's something that all kinds of viewpoints are shared in libraries. There's not, if for the most part, in good public libraries, there's not censorship. There's a wide variety of viewpoints available, and that anybody can go in, no matter what your station in life, whatever your circumstances, can pick up a book and read it. And in most cases, if you live in the right areas, you can check out those books. It's a powerful thing. And so I wanted to talk about, well, what does it look like? Why are books so important? And what could be their role in spirituality? Well, the obvious place, of course, we all think about scriptures, the Bible, the Quran, holy scriptures as being sources of inspiration. And certainly those are. And I've spent a good chunk of my life studying those texts, and I'm a fan. But I would argue that other books can have similar effects. In a previous webcast, we talked about the idea of making your own Bible, looking for those texts that speak to you, that inspire you. I think that the summer in particular is a special time for that. And I would argue whether you're on this school cycle, if you're a student or if you're a parent of a student, this is, of course, a great time to do it. But really, for anybody, I would say summer is a time where reading is a great thing. It's great at any time of the year, but really challenge us as a community to think, what could we do if we took a time of our lives and we really focused on reading, and particularly focused on reading things we otherwise might not read? That's what I love about this year for the Oklahoma City Public Library's reading program. They have these challenges you can do, and one of them is to read a book or read some other work by someone who's a different race, different ethnicity, a different religion, who has very different characteristics than yourself. But the challenge is to read such a thing. And so what about us as a community? Could we do that? Could we purposefully go out and find different kinds of voices to read, and other forms of media as well? What would it mean? How could it stretch us? How could it expand us? But I want to challenge us to not just think about reading, but to take it to the next level. And I think there's two levels of this when it comes to summer reading and reading in a more intensive way. A next step is engaged reading, active reading. That's where we take a book and we don't just passively read it, but we respond to it. Some people, my father was a great note taker when he wrote in books. And I always enjoy later reading books that he read because he has lots of notes. And I've had other people in my life who are great note takers. But in other people, they do their responding by way of their own reflective writing, in essays, maybe in blog posts, even just in reviews online. The idea, though, is not just us passively reading someone else's ideas, but us going back and forth, give and take. And then I think the next step from there is writing books. And I'm a big believer in this because I think for too long we've gotten so locked into this idea that there are authors and there are readers. There are these great people who are published authors, and there's us little peons down here who you're the ones who read the books, but we don't have any words of our own to share. Well, thanks to modern technology, it can be different. And I say that because that's been my experience. I've written a couple of books. Like I have one of them I'm going to show you right now because I'm in the process, I'm thinking about this a lot right now. I'm in the process of rewriting, revising this book. And this was a book I wrote called U.S. Army AWOL Defense, a Practice Guide and Form Book. Now this book, and I'm quite proud of it, and I'm really proud of the vision of it, in part because it was the book I always wished I could have found when I first began practicing this area of law. I was very frustrated that I could not find in one place all the things I needed. And so as I developed these resources and tools, these forms, these starting points for legal documents that you later revise and turn into final form, I kept those in the beginning of the book. And then I gave lots of explanation. But this book, who published it? I published it. Print on demand publishing is and electronic publishing through Nook, through Kindle, all the different resources. There are ways that anybody can get the word down. Now, the problem, of course, is there's a lot of crummy stuff that's self-published, not well done. But I would also argue that self-publishing has had a long and important history in the world and in this country. So many of my favorite authors, most notably Thoreau, began as self-published authors, and it's something we all can do. And so my challenge, my question is there some subject that you, any of you out there watching, is there anything you have a heart to write about? Maybe it's a story that's burning inside of you that you've always wanted to tell. Maybe it's a topic, something related to your work or a hobby that you know will be important for others to know about, but no one's written that down. Again, there's nothing stopping you. At the end of the day, this book, what did it begin as? It began with my notes and then began as Word documents. And finally, it's all put together in a nice, round little book, thanks to the Print on Demand company. But it began by me saying, I got something to say and I'm going to say it. I think there's a lot of folks out there that have something they want to say. It's important to say. The other thing about it is that there's nothing that says you have to do this alone either. By doing it self-publishing, it just means you're not using a big publishing house to do it. It doesn't mean you're not going to have people help you. You can have people help you with the editing of it. You can have people help you with designing the book. There's so many ways you can do this. But this summer, I want to challenge all of you, all of our friends and members with the Objector Church, to ask yourself this summer, are there some books that you need to read? Are there some books that you need to engage with more deeply? And finally, is there a book that you need to start writing? If there is, there's no time like the present. The summer is a great time to do that. So anyway, that's my bit of inspiration for this week. I now want to move into a little bit of conversation, discussion along the way. It's just a little bit of announcements going on in our community. Coming up, we will have our weekly webcast next week, same time, same place. But also want to mention that we are currently doing some fundraising efforts. We are always doing fundraising for the work of the Objector Church itself, Encouraged to Resist. You can find out about that at our website, objector.church/donate. But also, I'm particularly doing a special fundraiser so that I can stay on as paid staff in the coming year, the second half of 2019. And so if you'd like to find out how you can donate to this crowd-funded fundraising campaign, there'll be a link on our website, or you can just look for my page on Facebook and find that as well. But what I'm trying to do is raise enough money to keep me on at my current staffing level for the rest of the year. And so if you can give to that, or if you can't give, if you can share that on social media, it'd be greatly appreciated. So anyway, I think this is going to be it for tonight. This is a shorter webcast than usual. We've had a great meeting tonight here in Oklahoma, but energy-wise, I'm a little bit tired, so we're not going to stay longer. If you have any comments, questions, I'm not seeing any right now on Facebook, but if there are any later, you can always post them on Facebook. I'll do my best to respond, or you can shoot us an email at james@objector.church. And lastly, as far as things that are worth knowing about, do want to mention that Courage to Resist has a new podcast out that's telling the stories of war resistors from the Vietnam War era. So if you want to find out more about that, you can go to their website at couragetoresist.org. So we're going to close it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see everyone next week. Bye now.